Yeah, you can actually treat them as human beings because you don't get treated as a human being.
Welcome to Curious Chats and Kind Acts, the podcast that celebrates difference, kindness, and the little things we can all do to make our world a better place. Join me, your host, Sonia, co-founder of the Axe Charity, for some open, authentic and fun conversations with lots of interesting, extraordinary, everyday people who are all a little bit different. Prepare to have your curiosity piqued and your heart warmed as we explore the ways we can all make a difference in the world, no matter how small. So get ready to be inspired, uplifted and motivated to be the kindest version of yourself. Let's make the world a kinder place, one conversation at a time.
Hello and welcome. How are you today? So I'm talking to Jim today and we discuss his health issues, both with dementia and heart attacks. We also might be discussing his rather interesting relationship history. I found this chat really fascinating as we had to swap rooms halfway through. And when we were in the first room, we were chatting about his life growing up, his family, and he can remember so much detail. We were then interrupted by some ladies wanting to make coffee, so we had to move rooms. And as we started chatting about his dementia and his recent past, it's like he was a different person. I learned so much from Jim about his dementia though, and how it's different for every single person. And I would say if you do live in Blacon, please do drop along to Jim's group, Bouncing Back. We'll add a link to the socials. They're a lovely bunch of people sharing this rather scary journey together. I hope you enjoy. So thank you very much for being interviewed today, Jim.
Thank you very much for interviewing me, Sonia.
So we normally start off just getting a bit to know you, really, finding out a bit about your life.
Yeah.
What's your highlights in your life? Give us some, growing up, working.
Yeah, I went, obviously, you go to school when you're younger. I started work. First of all, I started working for my dad. He had his own business and that didn't really work out. And then he passed away, so that finished me working with my dad.
How old were you then?
19.
So you lost your dad at 19?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. He had a heart attack. He went, I wasn't in, I was at work. He said to me mum, I'll go and make us a cup of tea, Mag. So he goes in the kitchen and 2 minutes after she heard a thud and she ran in and he was on the floor dead. He had a massive heart attack.
Really?
Yeah. So that was one of the bad parts of my life. But I got through it. I still think about him a lot.
Did that change you as a person, losing your dad so young?
No, not really, because I had two elder brothers as well. There was three brothers in the house, and my mum, obviously. And my brothers just helped me through it, really. It was upsetting. I still thought about him a lot. I'd go into myself and, just think about him. I'd sit for ages just thinking about him. When I used to work with him, he was actually a greengrocer. He had a big van and he used to go around Chester over to the Lake and Saltney Ferry. He used to go around there, a couple of calls in Broughton.
So you knew Chester before Blacon existed?
Yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah.
It's massive.
Well, there was bungalows and things, but I know I moved up here 70 years ago. I moved into Blacon. A lot of this side of Blacon was built then, and it wasn't that many years after the war, was it? 53? Yeah, 1953. And they was building houses on the other side, and they was building them out of breeze blocks, so they were only built for 10 years. They said within 10 years, you'll be rehoused again, and they're still there now.
Really?
Yeah. So that was that, and I worked at the North Western Gas Board then. Me and my two brothers worked there. I was there until I was 22. Then I was made redundant. So they got me a job at a company called Pratt Levix, which is an engineering company. We used to grind bars. Forklift truck, when it goes up and down, you see the shiny bars. We used to grind those. We used to make those. So I was there for a couple of years. Then I was made redundant again.
There's a theme.
Yeah, it's a theme to this, yeah. So I was married then, by the way.
Oh, when did you go?
I got married when I was 20.
How did you meet?
I'd known her from school days. We had 2 children. Michael was the eldest. He's now 58, I think he is. And my daughter, Kathy, she's 56. And then we were together for 15 years, maybe 20 years, 15. And then you just split up, don't you? Go your own way, so we split up. But I still see them. She lives, and now actually lives in Spain.
Okay.
She got married again and they moved to Spain, so she lived, but they're looking for coming back now.
And did you see a lot of your kids then?
Oh yes, I still see them now. In saying that, I see my daughter more than my son. My daughter lives in Hambridge, which is just the other side of Chester. So I see her every week. We usually go out for lunch somewhere in Chester. But my son used to work for Wilkinson's. He was an area manager for Wilkinson's. And Wilkinson's, they've closed down, haven't they? So he was made redundant. He joined the club.
So you divorced but amicably and still seeing your kids a lot. You then
I remarried, yeah.
So how did you meet number 2?
We went to school
another
together.
One from school?
Yeah, another one from school.
How did that happen?
Well, it was funny really, because me and my first wife, Rose, and Carol, I'm married to now, we're all good mates.
Okay.
We used to go out together. She got married a right plonker. And she wasn't happy at all. And she stayed with him because I think she'd had 2 children with him. She'd already had 2 children from her first husband. I'm her third husband.
Oh.
But he was a very possessive man. I'll tell you how possessive he was. They used to live just across the road from us. And the first day of the marriage, they got married on a Saturday. And on Sunday morning, she got up out of bed and she said, well, they were up, they'd had breakfast, and she said, I'm just nipping across the road to see Carol and Jim. He said, you are not, you're staying here with me, I'm your husband, you spend your time with me. And she said, you married me, you don't own me. She came out the house. That's the sort of person he was. So right from the beginning, I thought, this isn't going to work. You know, she was a happy-go-lucky person. She still is now. They were together for maybe 12 years. Me and Carol had split up then, and we just started seeing each other when she finished with Ron. And that's how we met. But
who made the first move there? Because you were mates for a long time there.
Yeah.
Did you kind of just slip it into a conversation, or it's like fancy a beer? How would you go from being mates for 30 odd years to I think this is more than.
Well, as I say, I think I was still with my wife then. I was, but we weren't happy. We weren't getting on. We were just living together, and that was it. You know, there was nothing between us at all. She used to tell everybody she hated me. So, anyhow, I saw Carol in the street one day, and I just said to her, do you fancy going for the drink tonight? So she said, yeah, okay. So now I picked her up in the car, and I can't remember where we went somewhere out of Chester, and we sat and had a drink. Obviously, we didn't want to advertise the point, that, you know. And then it just carried on from there. Yeah, where she was working, her boss wanted his car driving to London because he could get an extra £2,000 for the car at London. So he asked her to drive the car to London for her. And she said yes, but when I was talking to her, she said, I don't really want to do it, I've never driven that far before. I said, well, ask him, put me on the insurance and I'll drive down. So that was the first time we ever went away for the weekend together.
And that was it?
Yeah. So
that was it. The magic started there.
Yeah, it did. And from then, we just kept seeing each other all the time. And as I say, she was still with Ron. She hadn't divorced him then. So we were both still married at this time.
Oh. You swine.
I know. So anyhow, we had decided that, well, she knew how me and Rose was because she was Rose's best mate. You wouldn't have thought so, like, would you? But she was. So she knew how Rose was with me, and I knew how Ron was with her. So anyhow, we decided that we were just going to pick a date and we were going to go, just going to leave. So I told Rose straight away, I said, I'm leaving on such and such a date. I'm going. So what she was worried about, because he was a big fella, Ron. He was.
Was she all right when you said that?
No, well,
she quite glad.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Obviously, she was going to be on her own, wasn't she? She wasn't going to have me giving her money every week. And although she was working, but she didn't have a very good job. But we was in a house. We was in Blacon, and it was all fully furnished. It was all new furniture. We'd had a lot of alterations done to the house. So, the house was going to be hers, and that was going to be it. I said to Carol, I said, you're going to have to talk to Ron. I said, I don't fancy the idea of us just going and leaving. Oh, all right then, she said. And I could see I said, do you want me to come down and talk to him and tell him what's happening? I said, he probably got an idea, summits. Oh, straight away he said, would you? I said, yeah, of course I will. So anyhow, I arranged I'd go down this night, and all the kids knew what was happening.
Oh,
because
the drama.
I was the godfather of two of the kids. The first two. I was the godfather to the first two children she had. So anyhow, we decided what night I was going down.
Did you armour yourself up with a bit of padding?
I had a few whiskers, a bit of Dutch courage, and I thought, because I'm not joking, he was a big man.
Yeah.
He was very muscular. And I thought, if he hits me, he's going to flipping kill me. So I thought, I'm going to have a few whiskers, I won't feel it as much. So I went down that night. Carol opened the door. She said, I'm going upstairs. I said, okay. And I could see all the kids sitting on the stairs, the four of them. So I goes into the front room. I said, hiya, Ron. Hiya, Jim. I said, I've just come to have a chat with you to tell you what's happening. Oh, why, what's happening? He said. I said, well, I've just come to tell you. I said, me and Carol, I'm leaving Rose. I said, and Carol's leaving you. I said, we're going to make a place of our own. And the only thing he said to me then, oh, that's fine. He said, but we've just bought a new Myra shower, honestly, and Carol's paying for it monthly out of what she earns. She said, who's going to carry on paying for that then? So I said, Ron, I said, I'll pay for it. I said, I'll pay for it. I said, if all you're worried about is your shower, I said, I'll pay for it. So he said, oh, okay, then that's fine. And he just carried on watching the telly.
Well, that went all right, didn't it?
So I stood up, I said, right, well, I'm off now then, yeah, I'll see you. And I'm walking out, and Carol's coming back down the stairs then, hearing the kids and listening to everything on the stairs. So I said, find me the receipt for the shower. I said, no, find out how much it was. I said, not pay the whole thing. I said, if that's all he's wanted, I said, if he's putting the shower before you, I said, the best thing you can do is get out of here as quick as you can. And that was on the Friday, and I think we left on the Monday.
And where did you go?
We bought, no, we didn't actually. Do you know the Devonia guest house on Hoole Road? You know where the garage used to be? It's now a shop, I think. And a doctor's surgery was there. Well, just past there, the first guest house you come to was the Devonia. And I knew the boss of the Devonia. So I went to see him and said, I want a room. He said, I only want a small room. I said, I don't want anything big. He said, what do you mean you want a room, Jim? Because I used to do a lot of work. I was taxi driving then. I used to do a lot of work for him. And I said, I just want a room. I said, just bed and breakfast. Don't want any evening meal or anything like that. Just bed and breakfast. I said, but I don't know how long I want it for. I said, it could be a couple of weeks, couple of months. I said, I don't honestly know. Yeah, okay. He said, I'll give you the little room above the door. So that's where we went, and we was there for 3 months.
How was Rose with Carol? Because they were best mates. Was she okay?
Well, they just stopped speaking.
Okay.
They just stopped speaking.
Yeah.
After we split up, the first time I saw Carol, it was at a birthday party an 18th birthday party of one of my grandsons. That's how long it was after. And
wow, that is some time after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said to I had an invite, Carol had an invite, Carol wouldn't come. I said, well, I'm going. She said, okay. So I went down and Rose was there. Rose and Neville, her husband. So Kath come to me. I told my daughter I was going, I told my son I was going. So my daughter comes over to me and she said, my mum's here, Dad. I said, it's okay, I'm all right. So I spotted where they were, so I went straight over to them. I'm going to break the ice straight away. So I just went straight over to them and said, I hope you're both keeping okay. I said, can I buy you a drink?
Nice, yeah.
So I bought them both a drink and we was all right. We've been all right ever since then. We speak, and I've been invited to go in because they're living in Spain, as I said, and they've got this 2-bedroom place. They said, if you want to come over, come and stay with us for a couple of weeks, but I've never done it. My daughter said, don't you dare.
It's a weird thing though, time, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
you went, what, over 18 years
Yeah.
before you spoke?
Yeah.
So you never spoke to her in all those years. And what about sorting out the kids? Did you not need to have conversations?
No.
Were they old
No.
enough to be able to communicate directly?
Well, what I did, our Mike, when I left money for him because he was coming up to a birthday party. So I left money for him. I give her money to pay for his party. And if they ever wanted anything, I just used to get it for them. I wouldn't give her money, but I would pay for them.
Yeah.
When we actually got divorced, she was still quite funny telling people, she used to tell them all sorts of things. You know, me and Kat had been seeing each other for years and years, and she turned my mum against me. She went to see my mum and told me I was behind her back. I was seeing this other woman, and for years. But after I found out she was telling my mum this, I found out that she was seeing a fella. So.
Yeah, but isn't it weird how it's the passage? It's not weird, but the passage of time.
Yeah.
Makes you see it, and is that just because you're older and more experienced? But there's
I
clearly
think it
forgiveness there now, and
Yeah.
at the time you must have been really angry that she turned your mum against you.
I was, and my 2 brothers, they wouldn't have anything to do with me. And we always used to go on so well. And it just stopped all of a sudden. It was when we actually moved back to Sealand Road, because I used to go out for a drink with them. And our Frank said, we're going to start going on a Friday night. Do you fancy coming out with us on a Friday? No, I said, I don't. I said, but I'll tell you what. I said, you come and pick me up on your way out. I said, I'll come with you to the club and bring the car back. And then when you finish drinking, you and Micah, they were big drinkers. They were big drinkers. When you finish drinking, phone me up and I'll come and pick you up and take you home again. Then I'll bring the car back to you Saturday morning. Oh, all right then. So that's what we did this. And then all of a sudden, I got a phone call. He said, we won't be coming tonight. So I said, all right, you're not going out? And the phone went down.
Oh.
This is the day that she'd been round to talk to my mum.
Wow. So that, and that's not a very kind thing to do, but you've still forgiven her, and
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
great. I mean,
Yeah.
like, why?
But it was a while after.
Yeah. Good.
but
Did
it
you
was-
ever reconcile with your mum?
Oh, yeah. My mum actually told me exactly what she said. What I did when I was leaving, when I said everything was new in the house, the only thing that wasn't new was the 3-piece suite. So I bought a 3-piece suite and I paid cash for it. I'll tell you where we got it from. We got it from New Days that used to be in Chester. I bought a 3-piece suite from New Days. So everything in the house, they didn't, I was going and everything was there. She told me mum that 2 weeks before I left, I went out and bought a 3-piece suite, an expensive 3-piece suite, and left her with the bill to pay it when I left. Well, I'd still got the receipt for it. So I showed him, mum, and said, there's the receipt for the suite. I said, New Days. I said, and that's how much I paid for it. And if you see at the bottom, it says paid cash.
Probably time to get on to, you became unwell. How did you kind of first think, there's something not quite?
I didn't. It was strange. Oh, I had a heart attack when I was on Sealand Road. Well, I didn't know I'd had the heart attack. Carol was going out. I'd retired. Carol was still at a little job she used to do. I think it was just 4 hours a day in the morning she used to do. So she was going to work. So the catch on the gate was sticking. So she was going and said, I'll come down with you. I'll bring me screwdriver and some oil. I said, and I'll fix the gate. Okay. So we goes out together. She gets in the car. I fixes the gate, goes in. And when I got in, I went, just breathing heavy. But it was bitter cold outside, and I just thought it's the cold. But all morning, I just wasn't feeling right. And funnily enough, it was the time when they really told you how to start looking if you've had a stroke. You know, your face drop, can you lift your arms up and this, that and the other. And so I kept looking at myself in the mirror, see if my face had dropped. I thought I was having a stroke. That's the feeling I was getting. And Carol come in, and the first thing she said is, what's the matter with you? I said, nothing, why? Oh, she said, you look terrible. So again, I just stands up and looks in the mirror. And she'll go on the phone, the doctors. I said, I'm okay. She said, no, she said, you're not. I'm going to phone the doctors. I've never seen you looking like this before. So she phones the doctor. Tells the doctor, she said, what have you done today? So I just said, nothing. I've done the gate. And since I said, I haven't felt right. I said, well, I've not felt ill. I said, I've just sat on the settee. Had a cup of tea. I said, and that's all, really. So anyhow, she tells all this to the doctor, and the doctor said, what does he look like? So she said, he's grey. She said, he is grey. And she said, I'm saying grey, I mean grey. So he says, bring him straight in. So it goes in, goes to the reception, and she said, you're seeing, can't think which doctor I was seeing, go and sit by that room now, and when it's your turn, he'll call you in. So I'd sat down, the door opened, and he said straight, there's other people waiting, Mr. Ibel, and I went straight in. So he looked at me, and he opens his drawer and pulls it out. He gives me, take that, he said. I said, what is it? He said, it's just an aspirin. So it takes an aspirin. He said, right. He said, come with me. Now he walked out the room and into another little side room. And he said, the paramedics are on the way for you. So I said, what's the paramedics coming? He said, I'm just looking at you. He said, I haven't examined you. He said, but you had a minor stroke or a heart attack, one or the other.
Wow.
He said, I can tell that by looking at you. So anyhow, I'm sitting there, the next minute this paramedic comes in. He'd come on a motorbike. He walks in, looks at me, puts all these things on me. The doctor said he's had an aspirin. Okay. He said, right, okay. So he gets on his radio and he said, there'll be an ambulance here in a couple of minutes, take you to the hospital. He said, you're having a heart attack. Not you've had one, you're having a heart attack. He said, this could be your second or third today. So I go to but I felt great then. I'd had this aspirin and I felt great. So they came in, the ambulance pulled up outside, came into the surgery with a stretcher. I said, I'm not getting on a stretcher. I said, I can walk. No, you can't. I said, I can. And I stood up. They said, no, you can't. I said, if you won't get on the stretcher, we're not allowed to let you walk to the ambulance. We'll have to put you in the chair. So they brought this wheelchair up and wheeled me out. Takes me to the hospital, straight through into the casualty. I didn't have to wait or anything. Then this doctor comes straight over and puts all these flipping wires all over me. Then there's a nurse there all the time with me. Carol was with me. And the nurse said, you've had a heart attack, Mr. Ibel. I said, don't talk silly. She said, I'm not talking silly. She said, you've had a heart attack. So she said, we're going to have to, what's the thing where you drink and it goes round your arteries to see if you've got any blockages anywhere. So they did that and they came back and they said, the main artery to your heart is blocked. He said, the doctor said, if your heart wasn't as strong as what it is, you'd be dead now. He said, the artery is blocked that much. He said, it's actually collapsed. He said, but your heart pumps that strong. It's forcing bits of blood through the... He said, so we're going to have to get you to Broad Green. So I went to Broad Green and had a stent fitted. And that was a weird thing because I went in, I'd missed, they'd finished doing them on that day. So they put me on something, which was okay. They said, you'll be first down tomorrow. So the next morning they come to me and it goes down, and you go down on a trolley, obviously, they push you down. And this nurse come to me, she said, well, Mr. Allen said, you got nothing at all to worry about. You know what you're having done. Would you like to see us do it? I said, pardon? They said, would you like to see us do it? I said, you can watch on the screen what's happening if you want. You'll be able to see us go. They went in through my wrist, that little mark there.
Were you like, no thanks?
No, I said yes.
Oh, did you?
I did, yeah. I said, yeah, I would actually. She said, if any time you're getting upset, I said, we can turn it off. I said, yeah, no, that's fine. But she said, you're really going to be looked after today. You've got the three top heart surgeons from the north of England in here today. She said, and they're being assessed. So she said, they've got to make sure everything they do is spot on. So she said, don't worry. So anyhow, I lay down and she said, they rub your hand to clean it all, don't they, with whatever it is that's called. Right, we're going to make a little incision. Now watch the screen, you'll see it happening. So,
you got any drugs in you at this point?
No, you're awake. You're awake while you do. All they've done is froze your wrist where they're going to put a little on your wrist. You're wide awake. So then they said, right, we're going to start putting the tube in now. And you can watch it going up around your arm.
Can you feel it though? Can you not feel it?
No, never. All I felt, no, I didn't even feel the nick. And when I say a nick, it was just a little nick. Wow. And I watched this tube going round. And she'd already showed me on the screen where the artery had collapsed. And it was just imagine that's your artery. Well, imagine the middle of it being closed like that. But every now and again, when my heart was pumping, it was just giving a little bit through now and again. So then this comes, he said, the doctor that was doing it said, right, we're getting now to the collapse, Mr. Idle. He said, you might feel a little bit of pressure now. He said, because we're going to have to open where it's, but I never felt a thing. He said, right, now we're in position. He said, we're going to, whatever word he used, but inflate the thing that opened. And you could see your artery open again and the blood going through. And he said, and that's it. He said, we're done. He said, we've just got to take the tube out now. He said, and you're done, you can go. And the nurse that always used to take the blood, we'd known her for years and years. And we're just talking, and all of a sudden she said, are you all right, Jim? I said, yeah, I'm fine. Oh, she said, do you mind if I just go and get a doctor? Go and have a word with one? I said, no, it's okay. So she goes out and the doctor walks in with her. And they asked me a few questions, and he said, will it be all right for me to make you an appointment to go to the counter to hospital? I said, yeah, it's fine. I thought, something wrong with my heart again. That's what I thought. Anyhow, it goes, and it was to have a check-up for dementia.
Well, you're like, I haven't got to
Well, anyhow, it goes in, and I see this, wasn't a nurse, a consultant, and she asks me all these questions and arranged for me to go and have a brain scan, which I did. I had the scan, and I had to go back to her. Well, not all in the same day, obviously. So then when I went back to see her, she's got the results of the scan I'd had, and she asked me some more questions. And she says, well, Mr. Idle, she said, I have to tell you I have dementia.
Wow, just that quick?
I said, pardon? She said, you have dementia. And I heard her doing something on a laptop. And the next minute she gets up and she walks over and she said, I will have to inform the DVLA that you've got dementia, but this is a letter you can send as well to the DVLA. She said, but even if you don't send the letter, they will know, because I have to, by law, tell them that you've been diagnosed with dementia. And she said, and there's a prescription for some tablets. Take one every night before you go to bed, and come back and see me in a month. And that was as much as I was told about dementia.
How many years ago was this?
It's 9 years next month.
Wow.
That's all I got told about dementia. Nobody to say dementia can do this, dementia will do that. You'll feel like this, you'll feel like that. Nothing at all.
And what did they say your symptoms were?
They don't tell you.
So you're like, I've been diagnosed.
You don't have symptoms. It affects your brain, and sections of your brain. It affects your brain. It kills sections of your brain. And like mine, I've got Alzheimer's. That affects the main thing it affects is your short-term memory. I will forget everything I've done yesterday. I'll forget it by tonight. Cadel will say to me, what do we have for? And I'll say to Cadel, what do we have for tea last night? I won't be able to remember it at all. And it just affects you in different ways. Anyhow, I went to the chemist, got these tablets. The chemist actually said to me, I would advise you not to take these at night, take them in the morning. Because what this tablet does, it actually stimulates your brain. And you don't want your brain stimulated when you go into bed, do you? You want to be relaxing. So he said, I would advise you to take these in the morning. And that's what I've done ever since. So every morning when I get up, first thing I do, come through here, go to the bathroom, come through here, glass of water, and take the tablet. First thing I do every single morning.
And you remember to do that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, pardon my ignorance, I'm just asking the questions.
No.
So when you say you can remember stuff like that...
You can remember quite a bit.
Right. I mean, we've just had a chat about your life. You've got a cracking memory for...
But how long have I gone back in my life?
Yeah, so if it's longer ago...
If you ask me what I did a week ago...
What did you do a week ago, Jim?
I haven't got a clue. I haven't got a clue.
So it's more like, I don't know, do you remember seeing me yesterday at the support group?
Yes.
And what do you remember about that?
I remember it being quite noisy.
Yes. You can't remember the conversations we had necessarily.
Not lots of conversations, no. I remember John interrupting and me telling John, was you there when I told him to shut up?
Is John Mr. Marmite?
Yeah, Mr. Marmite. Yeah. It was like that all the time. Not just with you, everybody.
I loved it. So stuff from you, and then, so at what point do you remember that again though? Because if you can still remember long-term stuff but not short-term. Yeah. When does that short-term become long-term and you can remember it?
But sometimes I remember quite a lot about things we do with the group.
Right.
And I don't know why, but I do. I remembered a lot of things that we do with the group. I never forget to go over and run the group.
Yeah, how do you remember that then?
I don't know, but I do. I know at night I'll be sitting here. I have to set the alarm in the morning. Otherwise I wouldn't wake up, or I'd wake up and I'd forget what day it was. But I know if the alarm goes off, I've got to get up. So
when you're so you've kind of, whether on purpose or just have, put things in place
to keep me
so an alarm. So you've
in touch,
kind of
really
alarm goes off, get out of bed is how you've kind of started programming yourself.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And has anyone talked to you about this, or you've just kind of put some steps in place to help you deal with it?
It's just what I've learnt over the years. I've learnt so much about dementia, how to manage dementia, but I forgot about 85% of it.
Yeah, how frustrating.
It is. People will ask me questions and I won't answer them, but I'll say I'm sorry, I can't answer you.
Do you not get really angry about that?
But then maybe an hour after it'll start, because I'll be thinking about it, and I'll be thinking about it, and I don't know what happens, but sometimes I'll remember little bits. Or if I haven't been able to remember it, I can still use a computer. I've not lost the ability of using my computer. And I've got different programs that can go in on my computer, like the Alzheimer's Society. I've got a program I can just click on it and brings me everything up. Different organisations that can just click on them and they bring all the information up.
So it's almost like you have to constantly do the same research.
Yeah, all the time.
So that's...
Yeah. Or I'll print things off. If I think things that's going to be asked, I will print them off. Like yesterday when I went over since last Thursday, when was the last meeting, I'd been reading things. I'm always reading things about dementia. And I thought, oh, now that might come in handy for somebody at the group, and I'll print it off. And then if I find out it is handy, and different people are asking, have you got any more of these, Jim? When I come back, I'll photocopy them and maybe do another 10 copies of them and take them with me. Then they're there if they need them. One of the things I'm often asked about is... What am I often asked about? Oh, God, it was there a second.
Just giving me an example, aren't you, of your dementia there?
Of how can you tell? What can you look for?
Right.
The wife will say, what can I look for in my husband? And I've made a list.
What kind of stuff's on that list then? This isn't a test, by the way. I'm genuinely interested in the answer.
I'll show you that. I've got them printed off in my bag. But I've made this list, and I can tell them different things that they can do. One of the good things they can do is sit with the husband. This is one I don't forget. Sit with the husband and ask them in 1 minute how many animals they can remember the names of. If they're okay, they should remember in between 20 and 25. If they're getting a little bit, it's usually between 10 and 15. Another one is draw a clock with the figures on it and the arms. Draw a clock, and we want to be at 9:15. And usually the numbers will be all over the place. You know, it won't be 1, 2, 3. It'll be 1, 5, 4,
And have you seen a deterioration in yourself? Like,
yes, I know I'm gradually getting worse. Because have you ever met Georgia?
No.
Well, Georgia's from a group, I can't remember what the group's called now, but she was a big help to me when I first started doing this in Blacon. But I've asked her if she'll come over to our meetings more than what she does and sit with me, because I said to her, I can imagine in 6 to 12 months I'm not going to be capable of doing this. So I don't want to just say you're on your own. I want somebody who can just help doing it. And you've got to... This is the difference between what I do, what I was saying to you yesterday, what I do, what a dementia cafe does. Entirely different altogether. A dementia cafe, they just sit and they talk, they don't ask questions about dementia. We encourage people to ask us questions. And as I've said now, if I can't remember them, I will find out. I'll make a note and come home and I'll say, oh, I've got to do this, and I'll go on the internet, I'll find out the answer. Next time we have a meeting, before the meeting, I'll get in touch and say, if you want to come over, I've got the answer to your question that you wanted to know.
And so you'll write stuff down, and then you can, because you'll forget it, so you write it down, and then
I make notes.
You get home. This is my homework almost that I need to do. So again, it's like another technique almost.
Yeah.
But I'm more like and I'm trying really to put myself in your shoes, and I can't think of anything scarier than knowing that you're gonna get to the point where you just can't remember.
Yeah.
And so how do you deal with that?
When you was there, I'm going to ask you someone else before I go into that. No, you're going to have to ask me again, because I'll probably forget what you've asked me. Do you know when you was there yesterday, you were sitting there and people was like this. Did you see the couple that was sitting by the hatch of the kitchen?
Yeah.
He's lost the ability to speak.
Okay.
Dementia has took his voice away. He's lost the ability to talk. He just smiles. And now in saying that, maybe on 3 or 4 occasions, I always talk to him, I always try to engage with him, and you get a nod or you get a shake of the head and he'll smile at you, and you know he's listening and you know he's taking notice. But sometimes I'll say to him, well, what do you think about do you think it was all right what we've just been talking about, Gary? He'll say, yeah, just like that. First time he did, nearly fell off the chair. Never heard him speak for 6 months.
So it'll just come back now and again.
And this is what it is. This is how dementia works. It doesn't completely kill it off. This is what I've found anyhow. What can I say? See, in your brain, a lot of people don't know, but your brain is actually, there is 15 billion neutrons in your brain. All little stem cells like this that are wangling. And each stem cell controls a part of your body. So when that stem cell is attacked by whatever form of dementia you've got, that part of your body stops working properly until it completely dies, and then it stops. But these stem cells connect to every single part of everything that you do with your body is controlled by your brain. Even your heartbeat is controlled by your brain. So
it isn't actually just memory. That when you think about dementia, people can't remember that. That's kind of what you think about as a stereotypical, but actually it could be.
Well, it is, because your brain controls everything. Your brain controls when you're eating how to use a knife and fork. When that ability goes, you haven't got a clue what to do with a knife and fork.
Yeah.
Blinking. If you see somebody that doesn't blink, you'll usually find that it's affected by the brain. Like Gary, I said, the ability to talk, it affects your hearing, affects your breathing. Some people never breathe through the nose, they've got their mouth open all the time. Use the ability to breathe through the nose. Everything, your fingers, when you move your fingers, that's all connected from your brain.
And so is your symptoms, like have you noticed more stuff's not working? Is that the right way to put it? I don't know.
Yeah. Before I had dementia, I had hearing aids. But since I've got them now, they're more powerful now. So I don't know whether it's just wear and tear on my ears or whether it's to do with the dementia. I just don't know. You don't know you don't realise how it's affecting yourself. You think you're okay.
So you still, are there other things that are obvious, or is all the, but you can't remember them?
No. Yeah. No, you can't remember them. So
and it's almost like I don't want to laugh at that because it's but that's the reality of your how you live now.
As I said yesterday when we was talking yesterday, you'll meet 2 people with dementia and they'll be 2 entirely different people. The saying of when you've met one person, you've met one person. That's it. The next person will be different. So next person will be different.
I'm going to ask you again, because you have forgotten, when I asked about how it makes you feel to know that you are going to get to the point where you can't remember.
Well, I'm lucky really, because everybody says I'm lucky because I'm not affected by dementia the way a lot of people are affected by dementia. I try to plan ahead. Like I've said to George, I'd like you to come in, and I like to plan ahead. I can't plan for things that I do. Well, I can, but you don't think of doing a lot of them because you don't realise you're getting bad. Like every morning when I wake up, the first thing I'd say is thank you. It's a bonus I woke up.
Who are you saying thank you to?
Myself.
Oh,
or whoever.
Yeah.
Every day's a bonus when I wake up.
Because you just don't know how many you've got left.
You're going to wake up.
So how does that make you live differently? I mean, obviously, thank you, you're very grateful.
Yeah, I live for the day.
Yeah.
But dementia has completely changed me over. When I was younger, I'll say when I was 40s, 50s, 60s, most important person in my life was me. As daft as that sounds.
No, that's...
Everything that was done for me. You would come second. If me and Cadel were sitting there and there was one sweet on the table, I'd eat it. I wouldn't think of saying to Cadel, do you want this last sweet? I would have it. I come first in everything. Since I've had dementia, I put everybody before me.
Wow.
I don't feel pain as much as I used to. What is it, 2, 3, 4 years ago, we just started lockdown, 4.5 years ago. I fell and broke my ankle in 3 places and never got no pain.
And that's because the pain bits of your brain have been affected.
And quite often I'll say to Kaz, my flipping foot's hurting, or my big toes hurting, or my little, or something. And I walk into things, don't realise I've done it, don't feel any pain.
And then you don't remember that you'd walked into something.
Yeah,
so but the pain comes back now and again.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't it bizarre?
Yeah, but when you actually do it, like when I was lying down, when the paramedics, the ambulance came to me when I did my ankling, because they just couldn't get up, they actually straightened it. Because where my foot should have been like that, it was over there. And it was virtually, they could see the bone hadn't quite broken through the flesh.
And yet you couldn't feel it?
I couldn't feel it, no.
Wow, that's bizarre.
Because they gave me gas and air, is it they gave me? I said, I don't really need it, I'm not in pain. Take it, you will be when we move you. Now, whether I was or not, I don't know, because I used the gas and air. But at the first part before they come, I was lying there quite okay. I was moving my leg. Couldn't move my foot, obviously, but I moved my leg over so I was more comfortable lying, because I was just lying on gravel. But there was just no pain there.
And do you know what? It's weird. It's great that you're thankful in the morning, but in terms of you have to live your life day by day, what do you do practically to do that? Because I know it sounds very grand. I live every day,
No, I just do.
But what is it about? How can you do that every day?
I just try to live I don't know if I'm doing the right things, but I just try to live as normal a life as what I can. I'm 99% convinced that he's got dementia when I talk to him, but he won't do anything to help himself. The only time he goes out is if his daughter comes and picks him up in the car. The daughter has now bought him a walker, hoping that he'd go out, but he won't. The only time he uses the walker is when he goes from his flat to his car.
So is that
people give up.
So whereas you haven't, and you've got this real positive...
Which I did at the beginning.
Right, okay.
Right at the very beginning, when I was first diagnosed, as I say, when I didn't get no help from anywhere, I got sent to the memory clinic. Only because I pestered the doctor, because what they tell you at the beginning, you've got dementia. They don't tell you what form of dementia you've got. And you don't realise you need to know what form of dementia you've got until you decide, I'm going to have to get help. So somebody said to me, you're claiming AA, Jim, which is attendance allowance. Never heard of it in my life. So they said, you can claim now, you can get a form and fill it in, Where do we get the form from? You have to phone up. They gave me the number. So I phoned them up and said, I want to put a claim in for AA, attendance allowance. And they said, right, would you mind telling us your problem over the phone? I said, no, not at all. I've got dementia. What type of dementia have you got, Mr. Ivell? I said, I don't know. I've just been told I've got dementia. Oh, well, we can't help you unless you know what type of dementia you've got. Why they say that to you, I don't know, because it doesn't matter what type of dementia you've got, it doesn't make any difference to your claim.
Yeah.
And there's over 200 forms of dementia.
Wow. So you had a bad patch where you were struggling to come to terms with it.
I felt as though I was in a big hole and I couldn't get out. And I went to the memory clinic. The appointments with them, they just ask you questions. It was the same questions all I was answered at the very, very beginning. And the last appointment, I had 6 or 8. I can't remember now which was it, but the last appointment, they said, this is your last appointment, Mr. Ivell. And when they was asking you all these questions, they always asked Carol to leave the room. So she couldn't prompt you. So when they are asking, like I said before, about asking you animals, and they tell you an address at the beginning, you've got to try to remember the address. At the end, they ask you the address again. They ask you all sorts of questions. Draw the clock. So at the end of my last form with them, they said, well, Mr. Ivell, your dementia is getting a lot worse than what it was when you first started coming, but we don't want to see you again. So straight away I think, if I'm worse, why don't you want to see me again? And they said, so if you think you need to get back in touch with us, now if I think, they've told me I'm getting worse, but if I think you can phone us up. Anyhow, on the way out, looked for cattle, couldn't see it. Then I spotted her talking to a chap, goes over, and there was a chap by the name of David Allmark from the Alzheimer's Society. The best passing meeting I've ever had in my life. I started talking to him. I made arrangements for him to come to where we lived. We would then sold the house on Sealand Road. We were back on the caravan park. We went and bought a massive unit on the caravan park. But he came there. He came to us for 8 weeks. And in that 8 weeks, I learnt more from him about dementia than I'd learnt in 18 months in the National Health Service. He taught me to everything slowly, told me how it could affect me. Nobody knows how it will affect you. All they can say, this might affect you this way. And at one of the meetings, he asked me if it'd be all right if he spoke to one of his colleagues about me. And I said, yeah, fine. And then a week or so after, the lady phoned me up by the name of Jo Lane. She actually, if I said she helped give me my life back, she did. She was absolutely fantastic.
And what did she do?
She spoke to me like a human being. Didn't treat me any different to anybody else. First time she came, she invited me up to her office. Me and Carol come up to the office, meet other people with dementia. You can see how people can live with dementia. And so we said, yeah. So we went up to the office in Mould. And while we was there, we decided to start a group that would help other groups in North Wales. So we all voted for it, yes, and we would do it. So we did that. And then while we was at the meeting, she said, what are you doing tomorrow, Jim? I said nothing really. So I suppose I'll be sitting in the house watching the telly. She said, do you fancy coming out for the day with me in the car? So I said, what for? She said, I'm going to a meeting in Denby. She said, just like we had today. She said, just with other people. So I goes to the meeting and I enjoyed it and I was talking to other people. And then on the way back, she said, what are you doing tomorrow? So I said, nothing. She said, fancy a trip to Bangor? I said, Bangor? I said, that's a long way. She said, I'm going to do a dementia friends session. So she said, you might enjoy it. She said, it's for trainee nurses, first year student nurses. So I said, yeah, okay. So I went to it and we went in this hall. It was massive, a huge hall. And it was 3/4 full of first year students. So the chap that was in charge of them, he gets on the stage and introduced Jo. So Jo goes up and she does this dementia friend session. And at the end of your dementia friend session, you get a little badge telling you, I'm a dementia friend. She asked me if I'd go around this side giving the badges out. So I'm going around giving the badges out. And different people are asking me questions. And I never told them I had dementia. Never said anything that I had dementia. I was just talking to them really. And then on the way back down, Jo's back on the stage then. She'd finished her side. And she said, right folk, you're in for a bit of a surprise today. I brought somebody very special to talk to you today. She said, I'd like to introduce Jim.
She's not giving you a heads up. Oh!
And I thought, God, I don't believe this. So I just walked past her and I sat down again. And she said, no, Jim, you come up here to talk to him.
Oh. So
it goes on the stage and I just started talking. I used to talk a lot in my job because I was a general manager for King Cab Taxis. So we used to go to a lot of meetings and talk to a lot of people. And it just started all coming back. And I stood on that stage for the best part of an hour and talked to him.
Wow.
About dementia, about how I was diagnosed, what I've just told you, the pitfalls of having a diagnosis, how it will affect you, the way it affects me. What you've got to realise, I said to them, was everybody with dementia is different. You see one person, you've only seen one, the next person will be entirely different. So
is it that she gave you a purpose again?
She did. And I really, really enjoyed that. And when I finished talking, I actually said to them, because part of your Dementia Friends session, when you do them, you tell them near the end that, and you can live well with dementia. So at the end of when I talked, and I said, no, I would just like to repeat what Joe told you earlier. I know you can live with dementia. I said, and I know that for a fact. I said, because I've got Alzheimer's disease. Well, the faces.
Silent.
Yeah. They just couldn't believe it.
Wow.
And I actually had at the end of that, and this is what made me think, well, I'm doing the right thing here. I had lecturers that was lecturing these students on becoming nurses coming up saying, we never realised what you've just been telling us, we didn't know anything about that. They weren't being taught anything about dementia. There was nothing in the training curriculum, is it the word, to do with learning about dementia. But so, after I'd spoken to them, and I went to a couple of places talking to people from the medical boards, it's now in their curriculum that they have so much training to do with dementia.
So actually I love what Jo did, actually, because that's an incredible act of kindness to you, in that she saw a potential in you and kind of supported you to fulfil that potential. She was fantastic. So I'd say what a great act of kindness. Smooth transition there, Jim, to talk about kindness. And I know everyone's individual, but are there any themes, is there anything we could do as society that would make it easier for people with dementia?
Yeah, you can actually treat them as human beings, because you don't get treated as a human being.
So do you not? Have you had examples where you've not?
Yeah, I've had. When I said I lived on the caravan park, that's where I was diagnosed. I was living, and I was the chairman of the Residents Association, and I never told them straight away. I didn't make it common knowledge for 12 months that I had dementia. And then I actually said to Cadel, I said, I'm going to finish being the chairman at the next AGM. I said, I'm going to resign. They're going to have to get a new one. Why? I said, well, okay. I said, I'm all right at the moment. I'm not too bad at the moment. But I don't want to be responsible for making a decision that's going to be the wrong decision, and it's going to affect all the members. Okay. I said, so I'd rather them get somebody else. So once I told them that I'd got dementia, I was resigning, I've got dementia, went through it, and this, that, and the amount of people on that path that I saw always used to stop and have a talk to me, that would see me coming and walk down one of the passageway out my way.
Really?
Yeah.
And why is that?
Because they don't know how to talk about it, they don't know anything about it.
But actually,
they will never know unless they learn off people like me.
Yeah.
This is why I will always say yes if people ask me to go anywhere and talk about dementia.
Because it just needs talking,
this
normalising.
Is why I said I would do this to you, because I knew somewhere in it would come on about dementia. So
number one is just carry on treating people like you used to treat them.
Treat them as a human being, treat them exactly with the same person.
Yeah.
The only difference with me now is my brain's not working 100% well. It may take me longer to answer the question. I might lose my words when I'm talking to you. I don't know whether I have when I've been talking to you, but sometimes I can be talking about something and just like that I'll go on to another subject and I haven't finished talking what I was already talking about. You lose the conversation. So
just be a little bit more patient if people lose the conversation. Exactly. The kindness of others. And is there anything else that we can do to
be more supportive?
Okay.
And also, not only you be supportive, but the person that's got dementia to accept the support. Because most people with dementia affects people roughly from 55 onwards. Once you're 60 or 65, you've got more. If you're going, that's the chance the way you're going to get it. And like me, I was independent all my life. I could do everything myself. I used to repair my own cars, used to do everything in the house myself. And then when all of a sudden you can't do it, and somebody says, can I help you, Jim? You say no.
It's instinct. I don't need help.
Yeah, I can do that myself. And I fell off the bed the other day, not the other day, 12 months ago, changing a lampshade. I've always done them sorts. What is it to change in a lampshade? But I got up there and just completely lost my balance.
And so how did you learn to accept help then?
By learning I couldn't do things for myself. and seeing the danger of trying to do things for myself. I used to do all my own electric work at home. Never big jobs, but for full light, I could take a light out and put a new light in, change switches on the wall, things like this. And then one day I did a cattle wasn't there when I did it, but I put the wrong wire in, and bang, blew all the fuses in the house. And that was the last time I ever did anything. I thought I could have blown the flipping house up.
Yeah.
The place could have gone on fire. It could have been...
So
homeless.
actually, you haven't really accepted it well until something's happened, and then it's like...
This is it.
Which is,
but
I
before,
totally understand that.
Even before... as I said, when I first worked I worked at the gasworks, you remember the big gas holders that used to go up and down? I could climb up them ladders to the top of them, no problem at all now. I can be watching someone on the telly now where they're looking over and looking down and feel sick.
Wow.
So you have to...
You've had to adjust, and actually you've had to be kind to yourself and go, I've got to accept this. This is the new me.
Yeah.
And... therefore I need to ask for help, which is really hard to do when you've been independent all your life.
It really, really is, because that's what I was going to say. I remember before I was diagnosed, when I lived on the caravan park, when we built the big, I wanted all new guttering doing. So I bought all the guttering, I was going to do it myself. And my son said to me, who was also living on the caravan, I'll come and help you do that in the morning, Dad. So I said, okay, well, by the time he'd come, I took all the old guttering off.
Yeah.
He went absolutely
sounds like my dad. Yeah.
Went absolutely.
Well, you weren't here at 7:30.
Yeah, well, that's what I said.
I bet you did. So,
but you've got to learn. You've got to learn how to live a different life, because it's entirely a different life. You can look after yourself to a certain extent, but as the stages, dementia goes, you go to different stages. I can still dress myself in the morning and things like that, but I won't do things like I want to shower. I won't shower unless Caddel's here.
And why is that?
Because sometimes I'll lose my balance.
Okay.
So I could just fall on the floor.
So you need someone here to get you up just in case.
Yeah, and it's just silly little things like that.
And actually though, for that it's a different life for Carol as well, isn't it? Because that different. Relationship's really very changing.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about that?
I feel terrible sometimes, because I know sometimes I will shout. Not a lot, but I would shout. I've never touched her physically, but I've threatened her with my fists.
And why was that?
Just because I didn't agree with what she was saying. Something silly. I can't remember what it was. But it was something absolutely stupid. But what I've tried to do now, if I feel I'm getting agitated, and you do know you can't be comfortable, you want to be up and down all the time, I'll get my laptop and I'll go in my bedroom and sit on the bed, go on my laptop and I'll start reading about dementia. And have half an hour in there out the way, then I come back and I've calmed down then.
So you again have started to recognise that, and you've put something in place.
That's what I say, I'm lucky at the moment, I can do that.
But are you not terrified that you're not going to be able to do that?
Well, yes, that's what I say, at the moment I'm lucky I can do it.
So is that actually the bigger fear of what you might...
of how I might...
treat the love of your life?
Moment, exactly.
Right, yes, I'm going to lose my memory and that's a terrible thing, but actually it's the people around me.
Around you that you annoy. And I will say, I know I say things to people that I shouldn't say. But it's always truthful what I say.
As the last thing we kind of talk about is a kindness summary. So the kind of 3 things that we've talked about. That so I think some of the stuff is just treat people the same. So if you
treat people with
find
respect.
Out someone's got dementia, don't treat them any differently. Be a bit more patient with them
and give them the respect they deserve.
Yeah. So I think there's another thing for me here around how you've had to be kind to yourself.
Yeah. You've
had to learn that you can't do stuff now, and actually that's okay, which must have been a really difficult journey.
It was. I had to learn to live with it.
Yeah. And actually self-kindness there, and going, I'm not going to get on the bed because I'm putting myself at risk.
Yeah.
What else? What other things can people do? What other stuff have we talked about around kindness that we can have? I like 3. I like to finish with 3.
I always try to put myself as well in other people's positions.
Okay, yeah.
Like when I had my meetings, the reason I have the meetings is to help people. I want to try to help people not go through what I went through at the beginning.
So that's a brilliant act of kindness. You know, you are trying to, after your bad experience, you're trying to make sure no one else has that.
That's right. Which I think I have helped a lot of people by doing what I did before COVID when I was in North Wales. There's nothing in Chester area. When I first moved back to Chester, there was nothing here for people with dementia. Nothing at all. And when I phoned up different organisations, say, what can I do just for me with dementia? And they were telling me to travel 20, 30 miles to the nearest place I could go to.
So obviously you being you're like, I'll set
So
up a
I
group.
thought I'm not, exactly,
I
that's
love
what
it.
I did.
I love it.
That's what I did.
And actually, what a brilliant way to end, in that you've set up a really successful support group.
Well, yeah,
what an act of kindness.
Yeah.
You've helped probably hundreds of people
and not
to understand dementia more.
Yeah.
I love it. Brilliant.
Yeah, and we have, as I say, I have started with one group. It was 2 hours in an aisle of a church, the Holy Trinity Church. That's all. Because when you first start, it's your own money that you're using. So you've got no money, you don't get any grants off anybody at first, you tell people what you want to do. First thing they tell you is how much it's going to cost you to do it. And you think, so I started in an aisle of a church. That's where I first started.
And now we've got
3 meetings, 3 different meetings a week.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you very much, Jim. Is there anything else you wanted to say about dementia that we've not covered? We've covered a lot.
No, nothing at all. All I would say that they are always looking for people to donate to them. And this is where the biggest part of research money comes from, is from donations. So all you people out there, if you've got a few shillings and you see a box that you want to put somewhere...
And who would that be? Would it be Dementia UK that
Dementia
you suggest?
UK, the Alzheimer's Society.
Or your local support group.
Or our group,
which is called...
Bouncing Back.
Bouncing Back. And do you know what I would like to say? I know we had to swap rooms, but it almost felt like 2 separate interviews, because the first 40 minutes we talked about your long-term memory, and then we came up here and started talking about your short-term. And it's like the flow, the passion in your eyes downstairs when we were talking about, your previous years to now, where you can see that you're struggling to find your words and that. I think you've given me a really good example there.
No, good. I'm glad you've enjoyed it.
So thank you very much, Jim. Nice one.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Curious Chats and Kind Acts. It was lovely to have you. Can I just say a massive thank you to all the people that we've interviewed who have been so honest and vulnerable with me, so that we can have these real life stories to share with you, our wonderful listener. And remember, we'd love to hear what random or small acts of kindness you've been up to, so that we can maybe do a few. Find us on all the socials, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and all our /ActsGB, that's ACTSGB. And drop a comment on our feed, tweet us, or even send a photo. Let's build our kindness community together. We'll read some of our favourites on future episodes of Curious Chats and Kind Acts. And you never know, we might even have a go at a few of your ideas ourselves. Watch this space on the socials. For more information about the Acts charity, including how to donate to us, head to actsonline.uk. See you next time!